I'm Dave, aka Mr. Muji.
And I'm Katie, also known as Miss Muji. We're Muji.
Team Muji.
Team Muji, yeah. The Mujis, whatever you want.
I think probably I was 12 when I first understood that people were artists and could just make things as a job. And that's, I think, when I really started to want to be good at drawing, good at painting. And then that led to art college. And then post art college. Yeah. Post art college was really trying to develop my own thing outside of that sort of college fine art background which I was in. Photography and drawing, wanting to take photographs, was directly inspired by loving skateboarding and getting skateboard magazines, seeing all those crazy adverts, hand-drawn graphics for skateboards, awesome wide-angle photos of skaters. I was like, I want to be a skate photographer. I can't be a pro skater, but I could be a skate photographer, and maybe I could design board graphics.
I loved art from before I can remember. Like my older brother was really good at drawing even when we were tiny, so I would just copy him. I would get into all sorts of craft. I'd make my own toys, and I'd like get these knitting patterns to knit toys. Anything like creative I just loved. I did like art and photography A-level because like Dave, I really got into photography as well, and I sort of went on to do that at BTEC, but that's the point where I dropped it, like studying art, because I just loved it so much and I didn't like the sort of school structure of art. I just liked to do what I wanted and not be told what I should do.
We opened our first shop in Camden Market 12 years ago. That was when we really started to focus on like filling a space with paintings, plush toys, t-shirts. That suddenly became like, this is the beginning of trying to, you know, make this work for us.
That's always the dream, you know, to do a job that you love, to actually be an artist, but making that happen is really hard. Dave was already doing Muji when I met him. He was sort of quite well known as Muji already, so I didn't think that was something I was going to come in on. You know, it actually just sort of came out, it was just an accident of, I think we were just like, we needed to make a birthday present for a friend. Dave just drew a Muji on a bit of canvas fabric and I sewed it into a sort of 3D plush toy just as a gift for someone, and everyone loved it.
Within 6 months of that, you were invited to show some work at a show in LA.
Yeah, there was a show called Plushtastrophe. Someone had seen my work online and recommended it to this guy, Buana Spoons, who was curating it, and he just got in touch and said to, you know, to have some Muji plush in that show, and that was
a big
amazing.
deal, wasn't it? Yeah.
There was a plush art toy scene in America that I just was not aware of. It was just by coincidence I started making plush Mujis. There wasn't really a plush scene in the UK. That made us realise plush toy versions of characters is its own art form in itself. So that gave me more confidence to get more creative with my interpretations of Dave's drawings. So yeah, it was very much a collaboration between the two of us.
Because we've been working together for over 10 years, as our creative work has evolved, it's evolved together. Nowadays, I'm as inspired by a lot of the sculptures that you're making as you have been by what's in the drawings and the paintings. Our creative vision sort of meshed quite well. I never really felt the need to direct what I thought you should do. I can't think of any time where you've gone, oh, I think I'm going to do this. I'm like, God, that's horrible. No, don't do that. Although your medium is sculpture in 3D, and mine's 2D illustration painting, you know,
2D illustrations, sign language,
I don't know why that's illustration.
painting. It's not how he paints.
Paint like this.
I think that it's always worked because neither of us tell the other one what to do, and we both love what the other one does.
We also share a lot of common influences and inspirations. I'm surprised in a way that it still works because you're right, it's not common. Yeah, I can't really think of many or any off the top of my head people that quite do this, you know, that
Work in the same way, yeah.
So, you know, a shared vision but different aspects.
I feel pretty lucky because I'm a big Muji fan. I love what Dave draws, and right from the start he's not been really precious about it. He's not been like, no, this is my thing. He's been very inclusive, and I just get to look through all of his drawings of his world that just flows out of the pen, and I just take inspiration from it, and then my own ideas bubble up. I think the only thing where I've taken a definite like drawing of yours was the tree spirit. How that came about was Dave did this massive illustration, really epic Lost Valley illustration, and in the top corner of that there's a really tiny little character, and I was in the middle of sculpting this other thing, and I was on one trajectory, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing that now, and then I just saw this little guy, and I was just like, no, I have to make him. And that's the one time when I've tried to exactly copy or create something that he's done, and I really loved it.
A lot of the art training I had was very analytical in a way. It wasn't considered valid to go, I just did it because I felt like it. Developing an intuitive way of working, that was the start of tuning in to my own sort of inner creative imagination, an amalgamation of my inner worlds. I didn't really have a reference for any other way like that until you perhaps go to other cultures where art is part of a spiritual or social cultural function. It's not commodity, it's telling stories to do with the culture or the spiritual traditions. Art serves a function in that way. For us it feels like it's a shared inspiration that's, you know, I thought was just personal to me, but I've seen you develop your own thing, which feels like, yeah, that's part of it as well. So suddenly it feels like, well, hang on, this isn't to do with our individual identities as Dave or Katie, it's like some other shared creative inspiration.
It can feel like it's a real place somewhere. Sometimes you talk about like tuning into Radio Muji, you know, like sometimes the drawing doesn't flow and sometimes it does, because he's like, it's like trying to find the frequency for Muji World.
It's a way of describing defocusing from everyday mind and focusing on intuitive creative mind.
I think we both have a working method where we try and distract our conscious brain. Maybe it's just music, but often it works better if there's some kind of podcast, radio, something on that's distracting all your thoughts, and then just let your hands intuitively play.
I think anyone who's creative or has tried to learn some skill or mastered any kind of craft or anything will understand that sense where suddenly it all comes together and it feels like easy and it just flows. They'll also be very familiar with you where like, I had a great day yesterday, it just flowed, and today, yeah, and no. You know? Oh, okay.
Because we've both got a massive photography passion and travel, so whenever we can and the opportunity comes up, we like to take all our cameras and sketchbooks and go and get inspired. And we really need to go and immerse in other cultures, and for me, going to Bali was probably the biggest inspiration out of all of the places we've travelled to in the world, because they have such a creative, such a small island, but such a creative culture, and the sculpture is just insane. The level of detail of every single doorway forget even the temples, just on the streets, people's houses. Definitely after our first trip to Bali, I came back home and looked at what I've sculpted so far and was just like, no, I could do so much better. I've got to raise my game. I really felt like, no, I need to push what I think is possible.
I had exactly the same thing walking into an art museum in Bali. Levels of detail, levels of intricacy. That was the most significant creative push in that same way to go back, look at my work and go, there's whole other levels of skill possible, there's whole other levels of refinement possible, and I've seen these Balinese painters, the most basic setups, producing work which is stunningly beautiful, and it does make you think, wow, you know, I have so many more resources available to me. It's improving skills which is going to be the most important thing. You know? Don't worry about who you know or your profile or whatever, just focus on, you know, getting better, you know, getting real skills, real tangible skills that you can improve and refine.
Our initial connection with Cornwall was because when we went travelling, we spent about 6 weeks in New Zealand and just totally fell in love with it. It's beautiful, epic scenery, and we're both really inspired by nature. I think you can tell that in what comes out in the artwork. So to be like immersed in a country so full of amazing natural landscape, that was awesome. So we thought about moving to New Zealand, but it's a long way to go, and we thought maybe the first step would be moving to Cornwall. Open spaces and massive beaches and the peace and quiet of Cornwall, it's got its own magic, I think.
In particular, this far south, we're pretty much, you know, the furthest, most southwesterly point of the UK, 10 miles from Land's End, surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean. The weather plays a big part in your lifestyle here. Living by the sea as well, you've always lived by the sea.
Yeah.
I moved to the coast from the city and really loved that. You know, being able to go somewhere and look out at just colour, sky and sea, and not have, there was an edge where man-made stuff stopped, big wide open space, you know. And I think that's always been an inspiration for me.
It balances out our lifestyle because, I mean, we both spend a lot of time focusing on things really close to your face. To balance that out, you have to go look at the horizon line and just see a big, massive blue view and nothing in front of you, and just like let your eyes just drift.
Get in the ocean.
Or get in the ocean, yeah. And I think
even better.
Yeah, we both need that, don't we? So our studio is actually only 2 minutes walk to an amazing ocean view, and we use that daily. We have to just take time out, and it just gives you a bit of calm mind, helps you refocus, and then go back into the studio and channel that into some work.
And Cornwall is also really interesting because there's a lot of ancient culture here. The little tip of Cornwall that we live in has the highest density of ancient Neolithic sites in Europe. And we're talking about a bit of land, you know, sort of 10 miles square, more or less, you know. There's an amazing light, which is a bit of a cliche, but it's absolutely true. The light down here bounces off the ocean and does change how things look.
Our environment feeds back positively to us, so we can channel that into our work. And we are both quite environmentally conscious, you know, we don't shout about it that much, a little bit. We are both passionate about I'm gonna go really, no, I better not get too hippie, let's not go there. Let's
go full hippie.
Let's go full hippie. We are vegetarian hippie weirdos. It's basically, you know, we are like
nice
a bit,
hippie weirdos.
We have got a little bit of that in our backgrounds. Both of us separately grew up with a bit of a conscious. We don't want to eat meat. Want to look after the environment. You know, we
think trees are a good idea.
We do think trees are a good idea. So you know, we have been able to like even if we can just get that through subtly with our artwork, I think that's important to us. Just trying to plant those little seeds of ideas with other people. If it makes even the tiniest difference, then that's good for us, I think, because we really do appreciate living somewhere beautiful where it has been kept clean, and we should plant more trees and try and clean up.
Keep the ocean clean.
Keep the ocean clean. It is important enough to us that we have taken pains to be conscious about what materials we use in our practice as well. You know, even right from the start, getting into resin casting, it only took about 6 months of working with normal resin for us to start thinking about, well, is there another option out there? And researching bioresin and finding out that, yeah, you can actually work with a resin that's plant-based, and it's a lot harder to work with, and it costs a lot more, and it comes with loads of complications, but it's more important to us to work with non-toxic materials. Living in a beautiful environment does make you more aware of not impacting on it just for artwork.
My focus for future creative work is really focusing on trying to tell stories. I've been, up to now really, a lot of my work has been one-off images, prints, paintings, all pieces that stand on their own. I've been focused now on creating sequential visual narratives, and the best format for that is books. My main focus for the future is to use the book format to expand Muju World, create a vision, develop themes which have been in the background of my work for a long time, but now it's starting to really enjoy weaving them all together into narratives, and I feel like that's got a lot of potential for me personally to really develop more skills, challenge myself creatively, push forward.
We both feel like in the future there needs to be some larger Muju sculptures that happen, scaling up, but on a, you know, it would be great to do some like really huge Muju sculptures, and maybe like more like installational stuff, or taking Muju World to something like Burning Man, or trying to think on a larger scale sculpturally.
With your sculptural work, to scale it up and then make an immersive experience, something that you stand inside, or that towers above you. Build one of the Muju temples, you know, or build a spirit house.
Because I always refer to what I do as sculpture, even though it's small, but it does fit in the world of designer toys, art toys. But all you have to do is just scale up a little bit, and then it is sculpture. It is in the gallery, it is in a sculpture park. And the bigger I go, the more detail I can get on it, and that's what I really enjoy. Get them even more complex, and that would be great.
One of the main intentions behind Muju World and Muju and our work is that our work has a positive impact. And that's not trying to communicate a really complex idea necessarily, although I think there are complex ideas behind our work, but that just, you know, when people engage with the work, that there's a positive mind state. You know, it can be reduced to, like, we did a little sticker saying "be happy." It's really simple. It seems really obvious. It seems too obvious to even say, but actually, we both, I think, from our personal life experience, how we prioritize life, being happy is an important thing for us to balance, and there's an important intention behind our work, separate to anything else, any other value to put on the work. If it can make people happy for a few seconds in this life and in this world, then for us, that's a level of deep satisfaction.
Who can go first?
Okay.
What's your story?
So my story is, I was waffling, thanks. Yeah, I did need to shut up about that. Oh okay. Yeah, the sea is really nice.
It looks
I
pretty.
like blue.
If this is the end of today's interview, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you think is important for me or anyone else to understand about you, your work, Muju World, Life, the Universe and everything? How to chop up vegetables properly, for example.
Yeah, I can do a little carrot chopping demo if you like.
And carrots should be chopped
Like this.
That way.
Not like that. Yes.